5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
Hi 611, my name is Sarah Weisel and I'm here today with my group, Eastern 4. Our group consists of 6 members all pursuing a higher education in the Applied Behavior Analysis program here at Ball State. The members of our group include Ashley Elsey, 25, who is a program manager apprentice at a nonprofit ABA center from Carmel, Indiana. JC Elways is 27 and is a lead teacher at a nonprofit ABA center from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Trinisha Brooks is 35 and works as a behavior consultant from Evansville, Indiana. Mari Fisher is 30 and is a BA intern at a clinic from Spring, Texas. Aaron Tabb, 37, is primarily a student currently from Joplin, Missouri. And myself, I'm 25, working as a recreational therapist from Wheeling, West Virginia. Now that you all know a little bit about us, we're going to start off our presentation with Ashley talking a little bit more about the purpose of this replication project.
The purpose of the replication project is to give us students the experience of replicating a published single-subject research study. In doing this, it gives us the experience of researching peer-reviewed journals in the field of ABA. Our group chose to replicate a behavior change study by Matthew P. Normand. This study focuses on the use of a pedometer to self-monitor daily step count, to follow goal setting, and to practice the giving and receiving of social feedback and praise contingencies. Next, we'll have Sarah discussing more specifics of our study.
For our replication project, we chose a study by Matthew P. Normand called Increasing Physical Activity Through Self-Monitoring, Goal Setting, and Feedback. Normand defined a step as any activity that resulted in a count being recorded and displayed in the pedometer. This is the behavior definition that we chose to follow. We each used a pedometer, either a Fitbit or a Garmin tracker, in order to record our daily steps. As a group, we replicated the methods of the study in the efforts to increase our daily step count, practice self-monitoring, and offer support and feedback to our group members. This intervention was in place in an effort to increase participants' physical activity in the form of increased steps that were taken each day. Here we have a quick little video that we would like to share with you. This video, called Why You Need to Walk 10,000 Steps a Day, will give you a little bit more background information on why Normand may have used some of the certain standards in his study.
I'm hearing everywhere that walking 10,000 steps a day is the ultimate way to reach good health. But is that true? Anthony Carboni here for D-News, and about a year ago, I heard that walking 10,000 steps a day is better for you than just about anything else you can do. Why? Well, the average person has such a sedentary lifestyle, sitting at a desk, in a car, in front of a TV or a computer, that doing the 30 minutes of moderate physical activity recommended by the CDC couldn't possibly counteract all that lying around. Why 10,000 steps? What's the theory behind it? What research led to this magical, seemingly way too round and simple a number? Well, none at first. In the 1960s, walking clubs were super popular in Japan, and they were so popular that everybody wanted a pedometer. Those pedometers were marketed under the name Manpoke, which means 10,000 steps meter, because this Japanese doctor, Yoshiro Otano, estimated that that should be enough steps to burn 20% of the calories that somebody takes in. That's a good name, it's a good estimate, and the concept stuck. But does walking 10,000 steps a day actually work? Well, yeah, studies done recently show that hitting the goal can lower your blood pressure and improve your glucose levels. An Australian study showed that meeting the goal actually improved someone's brain function and level of physical fitness by 2%. But so can considerably fewer steps for most people. So the average American takes about 5,100 steps a day. Now, the CDC says that upping that to 8,000 can still give you all the health benefits you need and is basically equivalent to adding a 30-minute walk onto your day. Okay, but what if you already work out? Or what if you jog? Even if you get less than 10,000 steps, running has got to be equal to walking, right? Well, not really. Over the last 19 years, obesity in the US has increased by about 57%, and physical activity at work and at home has declined at a similar rate. We sit around a lot, and Lacey did an entire video here on the channel about how unhealthy long periods of sitting can be. So if you jog a couple miles and get 4,000 steps in, or if you hit the gym and get 30 minutes of increased heart rate, but then spend the other 23 and a half hours of your day sitting around, you are not getting the same health benefits you would by hitting the gym, but also making sure you hit your walking goal. That's not to say stop going to the gym. It's also not to say jump in right now and get 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day immediately. Adding any level of activity can get you immediate benefits. Colorado has one of the lower obesity rates in the US, and they walk about 6,500 steps a day. Tennessee and Arkansas have high obesity rates, and they walk about 4,500 steps a day. So that 2,000 steps is making a big difference in overall health. So no, 10,000 steps is not a magic number, and it's not going to get you in shape on its own. But a day full of slow, steady, simple physical activity like walking can be extremely healthy for you. Have you guys tried this? How's it working for you? Let me know down below, and subscribe for more D News.
So research has shown that there is a decrease in physical activity after the age of 12 years old. Ackberg, Soderlund, and Linden define physical activity as bodily movement that is produced by the muscles and generates energy expenditure. Sedentary behavior is defined as behavior that is characterized by sitting, laying down, or any activity that is characterized by low energy expenditure. In the United States, people between 16 and 19 are the most sedentary group. They spend about 60% of their day sitting down. Sedentary behaviors cause about 9% of premature mortality. Reasons that people do not engage in physical activity include having no time available, no role models, and the weather. Daily physical activity is a key component to a healthy lifestyle. Researchers have found that setting goals and self-monitoring physical activity can improve daily physical activity. Walking an extra 2,000 to 2,500 steps could be enough activity to prevent weight gain. The recommendation for daily physical activity is 60 minutes for people under the age of 18 years old. Research has also demonstrated that when people self-monitor their physical activity, it increases awareness and engagement in physical activity. Self-monitoring activities include keeping a log, a journal, and having reminders to engage in physical activity. In addition, the use of pedometers, activity trackers, heart monitors, and smartphone apps can track physical activity. Using these self-monitoring devices are easy and usually do not cost a lot of money. Self-monitoring makes a person aware about their physical activity or lack of physical activity, which can remind them to exercise. In one study, a device was worn to track physical activity of men around the age of 18. The results of this study showed a positive effect on the sedentary behaviors and the physical activity that was being exerted. In another study, participants reported that they were eager to wear the device tracker. In addition to self-monitoring, goal setting, and feedback on daily activity is an important part to increase physical activity. Tracking gives the person and health professionals a chance to provide feedback about their efforts in engaging in physical activity. And next we'll have Marcella with methods.
The participants include 6 graduate students ranging from ages 24 to 37 years old. All participants are from different states while attending Ball State University online. All participants are healthy and did not have any health issues preventing them from engaging in physical activity or being able to complete this study. All participants reported little to no exercise regularly prior to the start of the study. Settings. Steps are counted in all settings throughout the day. The materials each participant needed were either a Fitbit watch or Garmin watch. A Fitbit is a physical activity tracker designed to help motivate you while helping you become more active. The Fitbit counts all steps taken while wearing the device on your wrist. The Garmin watch does the same thing a Fitbit does and is primarily used and designed to track distance. A Garmin watch is mostly used by runners or triathletes. The Garmin watch also has a GPS device installed. Google Docs Excel sheet is the data used to track data. All participants are female with the exception of one. All participants and partners will document the data collected on Google Docs Excel sheet. Participants and partners will use their Fitbit or Garmin watches to collect their daily number of steps. Next, we have Sarah discussing the two images.
Here we have a picture of what the Fitbit dashboard would look like to ourselves and to our partners. Next we have the Garmin picture, which is just a different type of dashboard, but just to give you guys an idea of what we've been looking at for the last several weeks. So hopefully, you know, it's something familiar that you guys have seen and you can understand a little bit more about the technology that we've been using. We're actually going to move on to the procedure that we followed with Ashley.
Throughout the entire study, all participants wore their Fitbit or Garmin to track their daily step totals. During baseline, all participants were prohibited from seeing or knowing their step totals. This meant that if step totals were able to be seen on the wrist tracker, it would be covered with tape to prohibit view. Each of us exchanged our login information to our Fitbit or Garmin app with a partner. In the original study, the tape was signed to ensure that it was not tampered with by the participants. Since our group meets virtually, the exchange of login information served as the signature that is referenced in the original study. The partners changed the password on the app so we were not able to log in and check our step count. Since our study is a multiple baseline design, the intervention phases were introduced at different stages for each participant. This meant the intervention began on days 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16 for the different participants. After each participant completed 5 days of the intervention phase, we started a return to baseline phase. This meant that all previous baseline procedures were in place once more. During the intervention phases, all participants are given their login information back in order to track and ensure that step goals are being met. Each week, a different group member acted as the experimenter, and when in that role, we would provide daily feedback to each group member whom was in the intervention phase. If step goals were met, the experimenter would provide social praise, such as "nice work" or "you're on a roll." If step goals were not met, the experimenter would provide encouragements such as "you'll get there tomorrow" or "keep walking, you can do it." To attain daily step goals, each of us averaged our baseline totals and then added 2,000 steps to that number. This new number was our daily step goal during the intervention phase. If we hit our step goal 3 days in a row during intervention, we increased our step goal by 500 steps daily for the remainder of the intervention phase. If step goals were not being met, the goals were not increased. To ensure inter-observant agreement, each participant was required to not be aware of their step count. Each of us switched information with our partners, who then changed the passwords on our devices so we could not access them. Each participant only had access to their passwords during intervention phases. Devices like Fitbits and Garmins are mechanical recording devices that allow individuals to monitor their own behavior. To show treatment integrity, our partners entered our baseline data into our shared Google Excel document at the end of the baseline phase. This was to ensure that participants did not skew baseline data by accessing their daily step count and altering the number of steps they were taking. If we were permitted access to step totals during baseline phases, it could mean that we would take less steps to ensure that we were able to have a reasonable goal during intervention phases. Each of us was responsible for recording our own intervention data every day into the Excel document. We also ensure treatment integrity in IOA by checking that our partners inputted the data correctly into the Excel document. Aaron will now be going over the results of our study.
Overall, the daily step totals for each participant varied following the introduction of self-monitoring and feedback intervention. The goal of 2,000 steps more than the baseline was only reached 3 times throughout the 6 participants. However, a decrease after the baseline only occurred 4 times and was between the range of 91 steps to 1,334 steps. Other than those 4 times, the intervention had an increase in steps when treatment was introduced. Each participant's first baseline varied in days, with one participant, Aaron, having 5 days, Ashley 7 days, JC 9 days, Sarah 13 days, and Trinicia 15 days. After that, the treatment would last 5 days, and the experimenters would implement a second baseline lasting 5 days, and would then reintroduce the treatment for 5 days. I will now talk about each participant's daily step totals, and you will be seeing a graph which will show you the increases and decreases throughout the day, interventions, and reintroduction to intervention. So our first participant, Aaron, showed that he had the original baseline of 7,620 average steps after the first 5 days. That ranged from 1,993 to 13,131. He had an increase of 7,047 average steps after the first intervention, which had a range of 1,755 to 25,050. Praise and self-monitoring was then removed for the second baseline, and Aaron's steps decreased by 9,973 average steps, with a range of 3,174 to 14,357. Then praise and self-monitoring was reintroduced, and his average steps increased by 2,756. The reintroduction of treatment did, however, decrease by 170 average steps less than the original baseline, and had a range of 3,174 to 14,357. Aaron was the only one to reach his goal during both interventions of an increase of 2,000 steps, but he had a decrease in steps between the first and second treatments. Our second participant, Ashley, had a baseline of 6,641 average steps after her first 7-day baseline, with a range of 1,973 to 10,850. She had a decrease of 109 average steps when self-monitoring and praise was introduced. Her treatment phase ranged from 4,511 steps to 9,394 steps. The second baseline was 6,919 steps, which was an increase of steps from the treatment and first baseline. The range of the second baseline was 4,482 steps to 11,864 steps. The reintroduction of treatment increased 1,183 average steps more than the second baseline and 1,461 more average steps than the first baseline, with a range of 5,956 to 10,323. Ashley showed a decrease in the original treatment, but then an increase of both baseline and the second treatment. Now, the results for JC. JC had a baseline of 11,552 average steps in her first 9 days of baseline, with a range of 5,813 to 17,268. JC then showed a decrease of 1,334 average steps when self-monitoring and praise was introduced, with a range of 6,017 to 13,782 average steps. The second baseline showed that JC's average steps decreased again to 9,541 after the removal of self-monitoring and praise, with a range of 6,391 to 14,161. Reintroduction of treatment decreased by 91 average steps for the second baseline and 2,102 average steps from the original baseline, with a range of 6,759 to 13,214. JC is the only participant that had a decrease in both treatment phases. Next is Marcella. Marcella had a baseline of 7,967 average steps across her 11-day baseline, with a range of 5,073 to 11,548 daily steps. During her first intervention, Marcella increased her steps by 357 average steps, with a range of 5,966 to 10,271. Marcella then has a second baseline of 5 days in which her average daily steps were 8,713, with a range of 7,324 to 12,884. She then had an increase of 690 average steps when the treatment was reintroduced and had a range of 6,286 to 13,200. Marcella had an increase in both treatments and is the only participant that increased average steps across each phase. Next is Sarah. Sarah had a 13-day initial baseline in where she got 6,283 average steps, with a range of 4,657 to 10,806. Sarah then had an increase in average steps, reaching her goal with 8,959 average steps in a range of 5,406 to 12,838. That is an increase of 2,676 average steps. Her second baseline then just dropped slightly from the treatment to 8,881, with a range of 5,654 to 14,207. The reintroduction of the treatment then showed a decrease of 510 average steps from the second baseline and an increase of 2,000 from the first baseline. Sarah is the second person to reach her goal, but then had a decrease in the second intervention, but had 2,000 steps more than the first baseline on both interventions. The last participant, Trinicia had a first baseline of 15 days and had 5,779 average steps with a range of 1,519 to 8,537. When the intervention was introduced, Trinicia increased her average steps by 1,424 average steps by recording 7,203 steps in a range of 4,721 to 8,662. Then a second baseline was introduced, and she had a slight decrease from the treatment, but an increase from the first baseline, getting 6,979 average steps in a range of 5,145 to 8,895. The reintroduction of treatment then showed an increase of both baselines. She had 908 more than the second baseline and 2,108 from the first baseline, which would be reaching her goal if we were going to by that baseline. The second treatment had an average step of 7,887 in a range of 5,145 to 8,895. Trinicia was the third person that had an increase in steps during treatment. There was a functional relationship between praise, self-monitoring, and increase in steps for Trinicia, Aaron, and Marcella. Sarah and Ashley's steps both increased and decreased from the original baseline and reintroduction of treatment. And JC had a decrease in steps when the treatment of praise and self-monitoring was reintroduced. I will now go to Marcella to discuss the conclusion of our study.
All 6 participants completed their portion of the agreement in completing baseline and intervention twice. All of the participants had different time frames. Within those time frames, 5 out of the 6 participants showed some signs of improvement over the course of the study. 2 participants met the goal of 2,000 additional steps during self-monitoring intervention. Even though all 6 participants did not meet the 2,000 additional steps, 5 out of the 6 did show an increase in overall steps. When asked if self-monitoring was a factor in maintaining and setting higher goals, all participants somewhat agreed. The results show that owning and utilizing a mechanical device such as a Garmin or Fitbit can increase your overall physical activity by hundreds of steps. This allows for a healthier lifestyle and ultimately happier life. Studies show self-monitoring and self-manage has shown to be effective in improving a person's quality of life because it increases self-motivation, willingness, and overall dedication. By being able to self-monitor, one has the ability to set achievable daily or weekly goals and eventually see noticeable differences mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically. Being able to hold oneself accountable can improve motivation to stick with the intervention put in place. in this case, using a Fitbit or Garmin device tracking physical activities. Seeing the number of steps taken provides built-in goals for the next data period or day. For example, if one person walks 1,500 steps today, one may make a goal of walking 1,500 steps tomorrow and continuing to add steps daily or weekly. The accountability that comes with self-monitoring and built-in goals are beneficial to participants because they can visually see their progress, which can be automatically reinforcing or self-motivating. The experimenter delivered daily feedback during the intervention stage via Google Docs. This serves not only as feedback, but also increased performance and momentum. Overall, the studies show that being able to self-monitor has the ability to increase physical activity and improve overall physical activity. Being able to increase the amount of time one is physically active has many health benefits. Each participant was willing to partake in the study, and 5 out of the 6 showed signs of improvement. 2 of the 6 met their daily goals of 2,000 additional steps, and 1 participant showed little and no signs of improvement. The longer one commits to more physical activity, the healthier one becomes. Next, we have Trinicia with limitations.
So as stated earlier, of the 6 participants, the goal of self-monitoring and physical activity for most people actually increased the number of steps when comparing multiple baseline data recording. Despite some success of the participants, there were several limitations of this study, as you can see on the slides. These limitations actually included taking Fitbit Garmin off while in the shower and forgetting to put it on after getting out, which resulted in uncounted steps. In addition, changes in schedules, work, school, family, and other commitments had an impact on participant step count. Have prevented the participants from being as active as needed, limiting some from hitting their daily step goal. Instead of daily step goals, one of the things that we probably could have done different is setting a weekly average goal that might have produced a greater step increase and given the participant the opportunity to make up steps on another day of the week. So what this means is, instead of us going in to the Google Doc and tracking our daily steps and rushing and trying to make sure we meet our goal, what we could have done if we would have did a 7-day, if we couldn't have gotten to the steps on Monday, maybe we could have made that up on a Wednesday or Friday, and then actually went into Google Docs and put in our daily step goal, and that would have increased our chances of actually making our goal. Though receiving social praise, great job, almost there, you exceeded your goal, don't give up. This was nice for all the participants. However, in actuality, it was not enough reinforcement on how to keep motivation and reach step goals. Research suggests that the effects of feedback are sometimes enhanced when combined with other procedures, such as incentive programs. However, in our current study, as Van Warmer reported, feedback did not seem to enhance the effects of self-monitoring, illustrating the need for further component analysis of the type of intervention package employed in this study. These incentives might have been beneficial, especially considering all participants in the study were adults, and more than likely some had family commitments in addition to work, school, and other obligations on their daily schedules. An interesting avenue for future research then is the evaluation of incentive-based programs for exercise adherence, similar to the voucher program used to promote drug abstinence in a study by Silverman. It's not surprising that each participant's level of proactiveness was different. Unfortunately, technology can work for us and against us. One limitation is not being familiar with the technology being used. If a participant forgot to charge their device or thought there was more battery life left, this could result in uncounted steps and some participants not being able to meet their step count goal. Another limitation is technology can be frustrating when it freezes and not calculate data properly. Therefore, my last suggestion with the limitation, making sure the device is working properly every so often combat this problem, and it's extremely important. This concludes our presentation. We hope that you guys enjoyed all the hard work that we put into making this project a success. Please refer to our references for additional information, and the authors and writers, I'm gonna have to get that better, I'm sorry guys. Please refer to our references for additional questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you, and we hope you guys enjoyed our project.